Imagine a league so confident in its future that it just dropped a full 2026 schedule while it still doesn't even know when the season can legally start. That's exactly where the WNBA is right now. On one hand, the league is celebrating a massive milestone, its 30th season, the biggest slate in its history, and a field expanded to 15 teams with the debut of the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire. On the other hand, there is still no new collective bargaining agreement between Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and the Players Association. Technically, that means the actual opening tip of 2026 is still hanging in the air. So why release a full schedule anyway? This is the league sending a loud message to sponsors, TV networks, city officials, and frankly to the players' union. The WNBA is acting as if everything is on track, locking in dates and cities, and daring anyone to be the one who stops the momentum. It's a business move as much as a basketball move. The 2026 season, if it goes ahead as laid out, will be the biggest in WNBA history. Expansion pushes the league to 15 franchises with the arrival of the Toronto Tempo and the return of the Portland Fire brand. That alone creates a massive logistical puzzle, a second straight expansion draft, complicated roster protections, and a free agency period that's poised to be pure chaos once the labor dispute is resolved. Teams will once again be forced to leave good players unprotected. New markets will try to poach proven veterans. Role players will get unexpected chances on expansion rosters. And all of that is being planned and talked about while nobody can say with 100% certainty when the new CBA will be signed or what the salary cap will actually look like. But the schedule isn't just about expansion. It's also about one player who has completely reshaped how this league thinks about ticket sales: Caitlin Clark. Even in this early stage of her pro career, Clark is the WNBA's ultimate box office draw. In 2025, she turned every Indiana Fever road game into an event. She pulled in an average of more than 15,800 fans in opposing arenas, a staggering number in women's basketball. Teams were moving games from cozy, affordable venues into massive NBA buildings just to fit everyone in. But that rush came at a price. Her rookie season was riddled with injuries. By the time the Fever shut her down, Clark had only appeared in 13 games. In those games, she was as advertised, about 16.5 points and 8.8 assists per night, already proving she belonged among the league's elite point guards. But once she was sidelined, a brutal reality set in for front offices across the league. A lot of those Clark Effect games had been booked months in advance in giant arenas based on the assumption she'd be healthy and available. Teams had committed to the higher costs that come with NBA-sized buildings: more staff, higher rent, bigger security bills, more everything. Without Clark actually playing, some of those games suddenly looked a lot less profitable. That's the shadow hanging over this new schedule. The Fever is still being positioned as a marquee attraction. Indiana will play on the big stages again. T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, the United Center in Chicago, Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, and American Airlines Center in Dallas are all on the list. These are big event buildings where the WNBA knows it can create national-level moments. But the number of those mega venue dates has quietly been trimmed back compared to what we saw in the height of the 2025 hype. There's a clear sense that teams learned a hard lesson. They want that packed house energy Clark brings, but they are no longer willing to bet everything on her being able to go all 40 games without another setback. It's a strange limbo. The league knows the global basketball audience is tuned in to Caitlin Clark, that she moves ratings and ticket sales like no one else in the women's game. At the same time, 2025 made it crystal clear: banking your entire gate strategy on one player's health is risky, no matter how special she is. So in 2026, the league seems to be walking a tightrope. Clark and the Fever still get those national stage appearances, but not to the point of financial overexposure. It's star-driven scheduling, but with a built-in safety net. Zooming out, the WNBA is going even harder into the big venue strategy across the board. 19 regular season games in 2026 are being moved to larger NBA-sized arenas. That's up from 15 in 2025. And what's interesting is that this push isn't just about Clark or the familiar faces like Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Sabrina Iannucci. The newcomers are driving a lot of this ambition. Take the Toronto Tempo. They haven't played a single official WNBA game yet, and they're already behaving like a mature, aggressive franchise. Their regular home base is Coca-Cola Coliseum, a solid mid-sized arena in Toronto. But for year one, that's apparently not enough. The Tempo have scheduled 5 home dates in bigger venues outside that building, including marquee games at the Bell Centre in Montreal and Rogers Arena in Vancouver. Those are buildings that can hold close to 20,000 fans for basketball. This isn't just about selling out games in Toronto. This is about planting the WNBA flag across Canada and testing just how big the market really is. Think about what those games represent. Montreal and Vancouver are both cities that have been floated in expansion conversations in multiple sports. The Tempo dropping in for home games there is part fan service, part market research, and part flex. It tells the league's broadcast partners and advertisers the WNBA isn't just an American niche product anymore. There is now a truly national Canadian franchise with the ability to draw in multiple major cities. Then you have Portland, where the Fire brand has been resurrected after more than 20 years off the map. The Pacific Northwest has already shown what it can do with women's basketball. The Seattle Storm built one of the most passionate fan bases in the league. Portland has long been viewed as unfinished business for the WNBA, and this new Fire franchise comes into a city that has been waiting a long time for a second chance. You can feel where this is headed. Intense regional rivalries, sold-out nights against Seattle, and another strong market in a basketball-obsessed region. All of that feeds into why the 2026 schedule looks the way it does. With more teams and more markets that can actually support big crowds, the league feels comfortable moving nearly 20 games into oversized arenas. But there's a cost to that ambition. The scheduling and roster mechanics are getting more complex than ever. 15 teams instead of 12 or 14 means unbalanced slates, more travel, and tricky sequencing. The league has to figure out how to keep things fair in terms of rest, back-to-backs, and cross-country flights, all while making sure the biggest names are featured in prime windows and in the right buildings. On top of that, there's the roster chaos still to come. Because of Toronto and Portland entering, the WNBA is headed for a second straight expansion draft. Teams will have to choose who to protect and who to leave exposed again. Some young players who thought they were safe after the last expansion round are about to learn otherwise. Veterans on decent contracts could be attractive targets for the new franchises looking to be competitive from day one. Then you layer free agency on top of that. Once the CBA is finalized, that's when the real scramble begins. Contract structures, core designations, guaranteed salaries, and potential new rules on things like charter flights and revenue splits will all shape who goes where. If the new agreement shifts the salary cap even slightly, it could open the door for star players to bolt for expansion markets that have room to spend and minutes to offer. And remember, all of this is technically unfolding under a cloud. Without a signed CBA, this entire 2026 schedule is both a blueprint and a bargaining chip. By locking in the dates, cities, and marquee matchups in advance, the league is showing partners that it's serious, organized, and ready to deliver. At the same time, it quietly raises the pressure on negotiations. Nobody, not owners, not players, not sponsors, not TV networks, wants to be seen as the reason a carefully planned 30th anniversary season falls apart. So the WNBA, right now, is in a strange place. On paper, this should be a celebration. 30 seasons in, a rising fan base, record social media attention, expansion into Canada, the return of Portland, and a young superstar in Caitlin Clark who draws headlines around the world. But just beneath the surface, you have a league learning from painful 2025 realities. Star injuries can wreck high-priced events, expansion can destabilize rosters, and labor talks can overshadow everything. The 2026 schedule is more than just dates and opponents. It's a statement of intent. Bigger arenas, more teams, a wider footprint, more risk. If the CBA gets done and the key players stay healthy, this could easily become the most successful WNBA season we've ever seen from a business and visibility standpoint. If not, it could expose just how fragile that momentum still is. Either way, the table is set. The Toronto Tempo are already acting like a national brand. The Portland Fire are about to find out just how much their market missed them. The Fever and Caitlin Clark are still the league's main ticket draw, but teams are treating her availability with a lot more caution. And behind closed doors, the WNBA and the league office are trying to hammer out a labor deal that will determine what this next era really looks like. So when you look at this 2026 schedule, don't just see it as a list of games. See it as a preview of where women's basketball is trying to go, and a test of whether the business, the bodies, and the bargaining can all keep up. What do you think is the biggest wildcard for the WNBA's 30th season? The CBA negotiations, the expansion teams, or Caitlin Clark's health and availability?